Enlightium Academy. How are you guys? Well, Easter is upon us. And with that, EA, we are just wanting to open up the story of the resurrection and just see how the salvation plan of God unfolds in humanity. It's just such an amazing story, and we want to stop and just take a moment and look at what happened at that burial site. What actually happened on Easter Sunday. And so today we're going to be opening up the Gospel of Matthew and just looking at this amazing, peculiar, and ultimately saving story. When it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who also was a disciple of Jesus. When it was evening, so quick note here, Jesus died at about 3 p.m. And if you pay attention to the time of day, sunset and evening happens at about 6 o'clock. So the day is closing out. It's Friday. It's the day of preparation. But when it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea. Keynote, Arimathea is about 20 miles north of Jerusalem. So that's a key piece of information we'll get to in just a second. There came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph. We learn from other Gospels that he is an elder of the Sanhedrin, meaning he is a religious leader, and he is a disciple of Jesus. Holy cow. Other Gospels say that he was a disciple of Jesus but did not talk about it for fear of the Jews. And what we know about Joseph is that if he were to publicly identify with Jesus being an elder of the Sanhedrin, he would be kicked out of the temple. One of the most popular and one of the most important people in Jewish culture is a disciple of Christ. That is huge. In the Gospel of Mark, at this moment, it says that Joseph took courage for several reasons. The first being is if he identified with Christ, he was risking everything. So there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who also was a disciple of Jesus. He took courage and he went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Normally, this was a right of the family to go ask for the body of someone who had deceased. But this was a man accused of treason, that this was a felon. And they were usually left on the cross to humiliate and inform others of the penalties of Rome. Joseph took courage, risked his job, and went to Pilate, who, by the way, if you remember, before, Pilate was under a ton of stress earlier from the religious leaders. So this was not a comfortable thing to go ask for the body of Jesus, but Joseph risks it. One other thing to note, do you notice how everybody else has run and hidden? The death of Christ creates the opposite effect in Joseph. Rather than hiding, he chooses to go forth and identify himself as a disciple. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered the body to be given to him. And Joseph took the body. So, by the way, he handled the body. On Friday, he defiled himself and touched, as an elder, he touched the dead body of Jesus, giving honor to Christ and choosing to bury him. Joseph took the body and wrapped it with clean linen, a very expensive, unused clean linen shroud, and wrapped his body, and then laid his body in his own tomb that had never been used, cut out of rock. Here's the deal. It was really expensive to own a tomb. And there's so many things going on. We know that if a criminal was laid in a tomb, they could never use that tomb again. It was defiled. You could never use it again. So Joseph is choosing to sacrifice his reputation and a very expensive tomb to honor the life and death of Jesus. And then enlaid Jesus' body in his own tomb, which he had cut in the rock, and he rolled a great stone to the entrance of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, meaning Mary the mother of Jesus, were there sitting opposite of the tomb. One last thought here is that Mary and Mary the mother of Jesus were watching as their son was being buried. A criminal. I can't imagine how painful that was to watch your own son be buried, much less not even being able to be involved in the burial of your son. But what we know later on in the text is that although she was probably in tears, just sobbing, she was probably preparing for not the Sabbath, which is the next day, but Sunday, to go back to the tomb and honor her son who had deceased. The next day, that is, after the day of preparation, meaning Friday, after Friday, on Saturday, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, remember how that impostor said, while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore," meaning therefore order the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day, lest or before his disciples go and steal him away and tell all the people, 'He is risen from the dead.' And the last fraud will be worse than the first." Fascinating. So many things going on here, but remember that imposter. Remember the guy, Pilate, who caused you all the problems? Pilate is a Roman governor and the child of the Roman emperor. But what we know from history is that they were ruthless. If you caused a stir or a problem in the government of Rome, you were killed. And there is just a wealth of political drama happening right now. The Pharisees enter the home of a pagan, by the way, which is a key piece of information, and they walk in to Pilate and say, "Sir, remember the troublemaker. While he was still alive, he said, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore, order the tomb to be made secure until the 3rd day, to make sure that no more problems happen, unless the disciples of Jesus, 12 or 72, show up to the tomb and steal the body and cause a bigger problem than the one we just had." Pilate said to them, "You already have a guard. You have a guard. Go make it as secure as you can." Do you notice how the Pharisees are playing on fear? Pilate's life is at risk, and they are seeking to ensure their cause. Remember, it's Saturday, and they enter the home of an unclean pagan, and they're now doing everything they can to secure their comfort and kill the ministry of Jesus on the Sabbath. Does that strike you as interesting at all? Go make it as secure as you can. So they went and made the tomb secure by sealing it with a Roman seal, so it would be treason to break that seal. and then sealing it with the stone, and then setting the guard, probably 10 trained Roman men. I can't help but be infuriated with the Pharisees. They wouldn't lift a finger to help anyone on the Sabbath. They wouldn't do anything to help somebody that needed their help, yet they will do everything they can to make sure that their comfort and their political cause is safe from the hands of the disciples. They will do everything to destroy the record of Jesus on the Sabbath, breaking laws, entering the home of a pagan, and working on the Sabbath that they claim they obey so that they can protect their comfort. My, that is interesting. And I believe Jesus called them out on that. But one thing that I felt was so convicting was the fact that they did everything to secure their comfort and their safety and their reputation. It would take a miracle to move a rock and move probably 10 grown, well-trained Roman soldiers. As Leon Morris, a commentator on this passage, said something so profound I had to write it in my Bible. Leon Morris said this: the precautions of Jesus' enemies would underline the truth of his resurrection. Guys, just like in his death, the enemies of Jesus always play into the hands of God.